Yes, I do.
Okay. My dad worked there for 25 years. Where do you work out of Franklin?
Heartland.
Out of Heartland, okay. My dad was in Franklin.
Oh, okay.
He's in the high dollar account.
Yeah, the expensive garbage.
It doesn't stink there.
What do you do for them?
Residential.
Okay, my dad did that in the early part and 20-yard roll off.
Gentlemen, are you ready? You ready?
We are.
I would like to welcome you to the Village of Vernon board meeting. Today is Thursday, October 17th at 6 o'clock. I would ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag in a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Fred, would you please do roll call and open meeting compliance?
President Chu,
I'm here.
Trustee Pecca,
Here.
Trustee Finch,
Here.
Trustee Newman,
Here.
Trustee Millies.
Here.
This meeting was noticed and posted according to law.
I'm going to read a possible closed session for later on in the meeting. Consideration and possible action on the motion to convene into executive session. Under Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85 paren 1 paren C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data over any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. More specifically, the administrator clerk and Wisconsin State Statute 1985 paren 1 paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties and investing of public funds or conducting any other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Specifically, the Center Bridge project offers to purchase, including closed session with the members of the village board and the village clerk. This will require a roll call vote and no decisions will be made in closed session. And I would ask right now, are there any public comments? There are no public here, so there's no public comments. And just would ask Deputy Borkus, is there any announcements or anything that you need to announce, Deputy?
I have no.
All right, thank you, sir. What I'd like to do is introduce Superintendent of Mukwonago Area School District, Joe Cook, sorry.
No problem.
And Tom, you're the business manager, right?
Right.
The Mukwonago Area School District. They're going to do a presentation to us and our residents on the November 5th referendum. So gentlemen, if you'd like to have a seat up there, and if you could please speak into the microphone so they could hear your wonderful voices. We appreciate you giving this information to our residents. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. We really appreciate the opportunity to come back and be here with you again. We were here last, I believe it was March, as we were getting ready for the April 4th vote. And now we are back for November 5th. As I click through, just want to make sure. All right, so a little bit of background about our school district. We have a great deal to be proud of as a school system. Our district, our schools are in the top 10% out of the 367 Wisconsin K-12 public schools. We are ranked 24th in the area of student achievement, 9th for on-track and post-secondary readiness, and we're in the top 25 for both math and English language arts achievement. One area that we are extremely proud of, for the second year in a row, our third grade reading scores are at the top of Waukesha County, which academically is a very high performing county. So our third graders, which is an extremely important benchmark for literacy, are at the top of the county, which we're very proud of. We have 2 National Blue Ribbon schools and 1 National Green Ribbon school. Last year, Eagleville earned the National Green Ribbon for environmental practices. We're a proud member of the Classic 8 conference. We are really proud of our over 100 activity and athletic offerings for our students. So in addition to a great academic program, we have an excellent co-curricular and extracurricular program for our students. We have strong safety plans in our district. Our mill rate has been below the state average for 35 years. And we have a AA bond rating from Standards & Poor, which means we have a very, very good credit score in the environment when we need to borrow money. And then we pass taxpayer-friendly budgets each and every year. As you look at this is the project that we did in 2016 for the high school, for MHS. And on the screen, you can see some of the spaces that we touched. We really were able to go through during that referendum and enhance the entire high school building. From the top left there, our commons area, the collaborative spaces in the middle on top, the beautiful performing arts center that we have, the West Gymnasium, which is in the bottom left-hand corner, our career and tech ed spaces, which are bottom center, and then our library media center, which is bottom right. So the project that was done in 2018 accomplished a lot for us, and it enhanced the academic spaces there. If you remember the prior high school, it was built in 1973. That building that was really wrapped around in new construction, and we went in and did heavy renovation for most of that building. So the project has done a lot for us at MHS. We do get the question as we've presented this and as folks have reached out, when did you identify the middle school? And if you look back up on top, in the top right hand on that timeline, you can see that back in December of 2017, our school board met at Parkview Middle School and did a review, started to do the review of the facility. So for almost 7 years now, we have been looking at and identifying a need at Parkview as an area to touch. If you go to the bottom there, we began to do the work leading into the April referendum. The April referendum was unsuccessful. Immediately after the April vote, we began to have the conversation internally, but then also with our community as to, why didn't folks vote for that? Why wasn't that project supported? And then what could we do? What could we bring forward to our school board and then ultimately our community to ask this question again? Because again, we have that need at Parkview. So we had some internal discussions between after April. We looked at the results of the referendum, the feedback that we had, and we surveyed the community again this past summer to see what level of support we would have for a project that costs less money. And then the board approved in August for us to go back to referendum this November. So how did we get here? We've talked about this now for over a year. We do have a capacity issue in our school system. So our elementary schools and our middle schools are completely full. They're at 100% classroom usage. We're projected to grow by 350 resident students by the year 2035. So we will see growth in the next decade based off of our population studies. We have about $7.5 million, maybe a little bit more dollars worth of needs at Parkview Middle School right now. And those are all listed in our capital maintenance plan. We'll show you some pictures of that as we go forward. We do have outdated and small classrooms at Parkview. We'll show you some photographs of that a little bit later. We have educational space needs at the middle schools and also at our elementary around career and tech ed 4K. We're currently providing special education services in hallways, in locker rooms that have curtains up and storage areas. So we need to have those spaces in our elementaries as well. And then from a grade level configuration, academically speaking, 6th grade fits better in the middle school. Curriculum is written kindergarten through 5th grade, and then 6th through 12th grade. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade standards and resources align much better than they do K-6. So that pairing there. And then we can look at what the additions can be for our 6th graders in the area of world language, mathematics, career and tech ed, band, music, orchestra, and then our co-curricular and extracurricular activities. So what we're looking at with this project is creating or implementing a generational 4K through 8th grade solution that addresses the current and future space needs. If this project passes and 6th grade moves to the middle school, we'll be freeing up between 2 and 3 classroom spaces at each of our elementary schools. That'll help us with future classroom growth. That will help us provide the academic program we need at the elementary school without having to go back to the community and say, hey guys, we need help with this renovation. So this domino effect is going to have a big benefit on our school district and our future students. So the ballot question, it boils down to, can the school district located in Waukesha and Walworth counties be authorized to issue pursuant to Chapter 67 of the Wisconsin statutes general obligation bonds in the amount not to exceed $89.1 million for the public purpose of paying the cost of a school building and facility improvement project consisting of construction of an addition and renovations to the Parkview Middle School building and demolition of a portion of the existing building, district-wide capital maintenance, infrastructure, and site improvements, and acquisition of furnishings, fixtures, and equipment. So this project, if you remember back to April, we were looking at doing elementary work to the tune of about $5 million and building a brand new middle school. What we're looking at doing is renovating 32,000 square feet and doing 210,000 additional square feet of new construction at the site where Parkview stands right now. We'll show you that in a little bit. So the need, and I'll pass it over to Tom to review the need with you.
All right, so we talk about the need that we have at Parkview Middle School. Parkview Middle School originally started as McGuanago Area Senior High School back in 1954. And with the building 70 years old now, the list of needs at the building it's long and growing longer. So when we look at our major building systems, plumbing, heating, ventilation, electrical work, their life expectancy is really near the end right now. When we take a look at sections of the roof and parts of the exterior, windows, everything on the outside, they're reaching a point where they need some major help. Our classroom floors, lighting, ceilings, and casework on the inside of each classroom has reached a point where they need to be replaced. And hallways and classrooms overall are just, they're tight. They're small, things are narrow, and it's really congested with our student body in there. If you drive through McGuanago near Highway 83 and County Road NN during pickup or drop off, we have major safety concerns with the amount of parent traffic, bus traffic, and just general community traffic. We have safety concerns about that. Given the age of the building, there's certain parts of the building that are not compliant with the ADA. So again, we're just going to go through a few pictures here. We're just kind of highlighting some of our interior mechanical components that again are really getting up there in age and need to be replaced. We have a couple pictures here. This is morning drop-off. You can see the traffic that's backing up along East Veterans Way. The buses are fighting traffic as they empty out onto Highway 83. And then we have the same issue during parent pickup in the afternoon. The next few slides, we'll go through 6 slides here to highlight 6 spaces here. So we'll kind of work our way around the building here, starting with the band area. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. Our band area is currently 1,770 square feet, and we don't have room for 100 students. When our band performs, the first time that they're going to get together with all hands on deck and go live is the day of the concert and the final rehearsal. We don't have the band space for our students. We have low ceilings. Going inside there, it's a really noisy spot to be. Even in a safety sense on the ears, it's something that we need to improve upon. The recommended band space for 100 students would be 2,800 square feet, so a lot larger than what we currently have. Inside our gymnasium, you take a look at the original gymnasium there at Parkview Middle School. We have 14,500 square feet with 2 full-size basketball courts. The proposal will have 19,000 square feet with 3 full-size basketball courts and include a multi-purpose space for wrestling. Here in McGuanago, we have a really proud wrestling tradition. We have one of the 20, within the top 20 largest wrestling programs in the United States, according to USA Wrestling. So we definitely have some space needs there in our gyms. When we just take a look at the typical classrooms there, you're seeing a pretty full class space there, because we have class sizes of 26 to 28 students in these grade levels here. At 680 to 770 square feet, that doesn't really support what we do in a classroom on a daily basis. Things are extremely tight. The recommended classroom space for 26 to 28 students is 900 square feet. So we have small classroom spaces. Even if we were to renovate the building in some areas that I mentioned earlier, we still have a very small classrooms. Taking a look at our cafeteria. Our cafeteria, we serve all our students throughout the day between 11 and 1 p.m. and we have to break that up into 4 serving sections here. That in and of itself really puts a limitation on how you can design an academic schedule. The proposal will increase our cafeteria space to 7,500 square feet, which will allow for us to serve students in just 2 servings, which will open up the academic schedule, and we can do better things academically speaking if we have that opportunity. Here we're taking a look at our STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math spaces, or our tech ed spaces. With current space is 4,400 square feet. And that really doesn't provide a lot of flexibility to adapt or implement new things. We have a very proud career and technical education offering at McGuanago High School. If we could do likewise at the middle school and get kids, to identify their areas of focus, if we could offer design, fabrication, and construction at earlier ages, we can get them on the right path that's right for them before they reach the 9th grade, if we can open up and be more flexible in what we offer in our tech ed courses at the middle school setting. And then lastly, we're going to just look at a picture here of our science classrooms. So, in a typical science classrooms, you'll have the Bunsen burners, the gas hoods, a lot of experimental area. And with what we have right now, with the average size of our science classrooms at just over 1,000 square feet, it's really small, it's really tight. The proposed project here would increase this to 1,600 square feet. Our science spaces here with area for storage and prep areas. So when we go back in time here and we surveyed the community following the April referendum, these are the 4 themes that we heard in our attempts to address these issues that we heard from our residents. So in April, we heard that the referendum was too expensive. So we asked for $102.3 million to build a brand new building. We are now reducing that cost down to $89.1 million. So ultimately reducing it by $13.2 million. Again, as we said earlier, this is solely focused right now on the middle school. There are no renovations to elementary schools to speak of in this project. And we are retaining a portion of the building. So if this project were to pass, 13% of the building would be renovated as existing spaces and 87% new. So we reduced the scope of the project and we're able to reduce the price tag there. We heard that the April referendum had too high of a tax impact. That tax impact was a $69 increase per 100,000 of a house's fair market value. This drops to the $24 per 100,000 of a house's fair market value. So ultimately, the tax impact is being reduced by 65% from what we looked at in April. We also heard from residents, given that we still have debt on our books here from the high school referendum in 2016, that some felt that we should pay off that issue of debt first before we take on any new debt. So we'll show how we're going to do that here, but ultimately in 2026 will be the last year that we pay off the high school debt, and then this debt would come online. So really, we're settling the high school first, and then we roll into the middle school after that. And then finally, we heard about reassessments. Every municipality, every 5 or so years goes through a reassessment, and recently in the village of McGuanago, in the town of McGuanago, they just went through those here very recently. So reassessments went up nearly 50 and 60% on average in those 2 municipalities, and there's a little bit of a fear of what that does to taxes. So ultimately, we help our folks understand, and I'll use the town of McGuanago where I live, for example. The average reassessment went up 57%. Some folks feel, or their belief is that their taxes are going to go up 57% with their reassessment. That's simply not true. So it's really, what did your reassessment do relative to the average? So in the town of McGuanago, if your reassessment went up 40% and the average was 57%, all things constant and neutral, your taxes would likely go down. If your reassessment went up exactly 57%, all things constant and neutral, your taxes will largely be the same. And lastly, if your reassessment was over the municipal average of 57%, your taxes might change, but minimal. So just helping people understand that the reassessment in and of itself does not raise taxes. All right, so I'm going to pass this back here to Joe to talk about the proposal that we're here for.
So we are looking, and I will scroll, make sure I click this correctly. There we go, okay. So our proposal, we are looking to build a 6th through 8th grade middle school, and as I mentioned before, 210,000 square feet of new construction with 32,000 square feet of renovated space, so doing heavy renovation there. Our building would have the capacity to serve 1,200 students. We would be improving our classroom spaces, our lab spaces, our tech ed spaces for hands-on learning. We'd have flexible spaces for student collaboration and performances. We'd build that 3-court gymnasium and fitness area for students and community use. We'd have proper separation, and we'll show you this on the outside, for pedestrians, vehicles, and bus traffic. By building new, we will have improved energy efficiency systems. And if you're familiar with the property right now, we do have a track and we do have a football field, soccer field back there. We would be maintaining that as part of this project. And so as you look at the drawing up on the board there, you can see the area in blue, and I'll hit it with the cursor here. This was a 1993 renovation of Parkview Middle School. This was an add-on at that time. So we're going to maintain the 1993 portion of the middle school, and we'll use that for technology education. We will use that for family and consumer ed. We will use each current cafeteria as that multi-purpose space that Tom had mentioned before, for wrestling as an example. And then in this top area here, we'd be looking at using that as our kitchen and then our servery for the cafeteria, which we would be locating in this portion of the building. So of the old space, of the renovated space, we'd be using that for academic areas in tech ed and family and consumer ed. And we'll show you a rendering of what that could look like. But we're not using that then in those classrooms, as we mentioned, they were small. We're not going to use that then as the primary academic instructional areas. We'll show you how that comes together. The yellow block here is the new. You can see the traffic pattern that we're hoping to accomplish here by taking what is the current curb cut here and here, where the buses and the parents come in, and we'd be pulling them away. Our architects and our construction management firm believe that this will help with the pressure that we have right now on this intersection every day. This is the rendering from an elevation standpoint. We would be looking at doing a 3-floor academic wing, where 6th grade would be on one, 7th grade would be on another, and 8th grade would be on another. So while we have all 3 grades in the same building, we would have them separated by grade level. We would have, in the middle here, we would have our front office, our library media center, some instructional space, our gymnasium. Here was that cafeteria spot that I had mentioned to you before with that renovated space. And then this is what a rendering could look like from Veterans Way, where this would be the cafeteria space. This would be the front of the building with the main offices and the library media center. And over here would be the academic wing. This is where the parent drop-off would be, that circle. Here's a potential rendering and conceptual of the gymnasium. We are looking to put an indoor walking track in there that would help us with our FIED classes, but also community space for our walkers. We do have a walking group that uses the high school. For walking, we'd be also able to provide that at the middle school for folks who wanted to get out of the weather and get their exercise. This would be the cafeteria space. As we mentioned, we can't get the band and the choirs together. We would have a larger performance space. We're not thinking of replicating the PAC at the high school, but we would have a big stage there where the kids could begin to do their rehearsals and their practices at school. Library Media Center, it would be open, it would have more natural light, but we would also have larger spaces for kids to collaborate, use the books, use the furniture to extend their learning. Our classroom spaces, we currently collaborate in the hallway, and that hallway collaboration impacts what we do in classes, plus the flow of dismissal between periods, the passing time. So we would have classroom spaces along the side, and we would have common space in the middle. Students would be better supervised in this model because we would have more window space where the teachers could keep an eye on kids. They could provide intervention, extension, and then collaboration all in these spaces. And then this is a conceptual STEM space, tech ed space in the current building. So this would be a renovated space. We'd be knocking down 2 walls, we'd be combining 3 classrooms, and getting the classrooms to the sizes that we needed to in that current space. So the proposal, again, we're looking at improving for 6th graders the academic exposure in world language, mathematics, family and consumer ed, career and tech ed, and music, and then providing better co-curricular and extracurricular opportunities. Currently, our 6th graders who are at our elementary schools essentially start their day with a 0 period if they're gifted in math. So they start at about 7:30 in the morning, they get instruction at Parkview, and then they get on a bus and they go back to the elementary school for the remainder of the school day. So they have an additional period of the day added on just to accommodate their math needs. And that really makes for a very long school day for a 6th grade age student. One of the things that we did look at, we started to compare ourselves a little bit to what are our neighbors doing. So Muskego, Kettle Moraine, Oconomowoc, Pewaukee, Elmbrook, and Waukesha, they have 5th through 8th grade middle schools or 6th through 8th grade middle schools. Our middle school is currently only 7th and 8th grade. And so we started to look at what differences exist between our middle school and our neighbors. We do not provide 6th grade language, foreign language, tech ed and STEM, family and consumer education. And they're not connected to our school wrestling program, cross-country program, musical, just as some examples. They don't have that opportunity because the 6th graders are not at a middle school location. When you look at where our neighbors are at, you can see the vast number of opportunities that kids are getting in 6th grade that our kids are not getting based off of, again, our middle school configuration. And then this does have another benefit for our elementaries, where we're able to use those 6th grade classrooms for special education, classroom needs and growth. If we get a large class that comes through, we have an available classroom to accommodate 3 sections of 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, instead of 2 sections. So we do have that space. We'll be able to use classroom space for interventions in special education instead of having to use the hallways, the foyers, and the locker rooms and the closets to provide that service to students. And here are examples of that across our district, where you can see a kid is in the foyer getting his intervention, where we're using a storage room to provide instructional services to kids, where they have to go in the hallway because we don't have a classroom space for them. This is what is happening on a daily basis in our schools, and we know that we can do better for our kids who have more significant academic need. Our timeline for this project, if passed, we would begin the design work in 2025 along with the bid work, and then we would begin construction either right at the end of 2025 or the beginning of 2026. That would be ongoing for us until the start of the 27-28 school year. That would be the first year that our kids would go there then for school. And people have asked us what grade level is first affected by that. And our 3rd grade students would be the first 6th grade class there. They would be the first ones to go 6, 7, 8. Our 4th graders then would get 2 years there, and then our current 5th graders would have their 8th grade year. So the investment, I'll pass this back to Tom, but we know that everybody is wondering how this is going to impact our taxpayers and our homes.
All right, so last part of the presentation here, the investment here. So as I mentioned earlier, this project has been reduced by $13.2 million, and the ask is for $89.1 million. The $24 tax increase, again, is for $100,000 of a house's fair market value, and we'll see in the coming slides here that this increase will not take place until this time in 2026. The municipal interest rates, so the rate to borrow, those rates are currently dropping, and they're dropping lower as time moves along here, so that element is making this favorable at the time. And we know that by waiting on the needs to meet these needs, that this project is only going to grow in cost over time. It will never become cheaper than it is right now. So really, this is the time to ask the community this question. Just a look, 30-year AAA municipal market data here in terms of interest rates. You can see that we are currently at the 30-year average, and we are going to start dropping below underneath that interest rate here. So rates are decreasing. That makes this project favorable. This represents our debt timeline and debt repayment schedule for the project we did at Guanago High School. The turquoise bars ultimately represent the payments that we locked in for a 20-year period, and the purple bars represent what we actually paid off. So it's a little hard to see, but along the bottom axis there, that debt payment schedule goes out to the year 2036. With what we have on the screen right now, we will have this paid off by 2026. So a 20-year bar will be paid off 10 years early. The original question that we asked in April 2016 was for $49.5 million, and given the financing at that time, in terms of repaying principal and interest, the total repayment totaled $80 million. Through early payment, through refinancing, we've dropped that $80 million down to $60 million. So what the taxpayers ultimately said, we will pay for this, that all-in cost with principal and interest is being reduced by 25% through what we feel is really prudent financial decisions. So that light purple bar that you're seeing on the left really represents what our school board will ultimately certify for a tax levy on October 28th here in about a week and a half. The next purple bar is going to be what we do in 2025, and that short purple bar is in 2026. So that's the year that the high school debt will be paid off. This next slide here then ultimately demonstrates the same details, but adds in those yellow bars, which represents what the middle school debt would ultimately be. So you can see that that first yellow bar takes place in late 2026. So we lift the repayment and the tax levy at that time, and then we hold steady there to pay this off over a 21-year period. In terms of this just represents the same information in terms of the mill rate. So the mill rate is currently $1.21 for $1,000 of a house's fair market value. As we project our tax levy, and what we're going to certify here in about 10 or so days, is that we're confident that our tax levy as a school district, as a K-12 district, is going to decrease here from last year to this coming year by at least 0.5%. So when the average resident looks at the tax bill, anywhere from about 70% of the total tax bill, when you look at what your school district asks for, the municipalities, the county, etc., the school district portion of that is likely going to be dropping here in the current school year. We're going to hold that steady next year, and then the lift will take place 2 years from now in the 26-27 school year. Just in terms of various fair market property values, this highlights and shows, what the annual or monthly increase would be. So for a $1 million house, taxes would increase by $240 annually or $20 a month. Based on whatever house's fair market value might be, we have those various rates there. So again, this is reduced, the tax impact is being reduced by 65% from what we proposed in April. This last slide here though, that we have just shows really what the cost is of waiting. So the cost now is $89.1 million. Should we wait 2 years, the cost will grow between $6 and $7 million. So every year that we wait right now, the needs will remain the same, the cost will only go up. So that's just what we're simply trying to demonstrate here on this slide. And then we presented 4 meetings. Those are October 16th was last night's meeting, so we've done those 4 open houses. And that concludes our presentation here. So I'll ask Joe to come back up here and open it up to you guys to see if there's any questions we can answer for you right now.
Thank you, Joe and Tom. Board members, do you have any questions?
How long before you have a grade school project? Seems like we just, had the high school one, there was nothing planned, and all of a sudden, junior high pops up.
Sure. So we've done a district-wide facility study. We have 8 school buildings that we have the responsibility of maintaining here. Last night we did this presentation at the Village of Wanago, and I was asked that same question. So this has in the past been referred to as Phase 2, and the question I got last night at the Village of Wanago, well, what's Phase 3 and what's Phase 4, what's Phase 5? We simply called it Phase 2 because it just made sense that what we did at the high school was the first step, and this was the second step. We don't have a 3rd, 4th, and 5th step plan or anything beyond what we have right now. And as Joe said earlier in the presentation, we feel that this is a generational solution. So by opening up the space at the elementary schools, we don't envision or have any type of plans to expand our elementary schools. This would provide to meet the needs of whatever comes our elementary in terms of student enrollment, population growth. So we don't have anything planned beyond this. Okay. Good question. Thank you, Joe.
And Tom or Joe, the census information that you're seeing, do you do a census from birth to 4, or how do you project what the student enrollment is going to be,
Sure.
in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, so we do that 2 different ways here. We do one internally. We take a look at just internal growth rates. So if we were to start tracking, first graders 10 years ago, what happened when they became 2nd graders, 3rd graders, 4th graders, and how does that cohort grow? And then what trends do we get from that? Largely speaking, we have 11 municipalities, with the Village of Vernon being one of them, and one of the larger ones. When we take a look at that here, we're really a destination school district and a destination area that people want to raise their families in. Historically speaking, our class sizes are growing. If a class size starts off at 280 as 5-year-old kindergartners, they come back at 290 as first graders and 300 as second graders, so on and so forth. And that's really been our historical trend. That's just simply taking a look at our student body of kids in our seats. Looking past that, when we talked about a long-range enrollment projection. That goes beyond what we're capable of in our knowledge that we have here. So we enlisted a firm who specializes in this very thing. So my hometown of Franklin, Wisconsin, it's a little more simple. That's just the city of Franklin, 1 municipality, 1 school district. Here we have 11 municipalities from here, Big Bend, Vernon area, all the way up to Village of North Prairie to our northwest side. That firm helped us work with all of our municipalities, our village planners, our town planners, to say, what projects do you have on the books? What potentially could take place in the next 5-10 years throughout the school district? And so when they looked at potential developments that are taking place, they start to look at that housing inventory, turnover, what is the rate of the turnover, what does it look like when a new family comes in here, what's the average number of kids. So based on all the details they can compile with those variables that I'm talking about is where we get the 350 student projected growth by the year 2035. And that's resident students living in our district boundaries. So it really takes a look at a wide number of variables, and they put their estimations in place, and that's what we have.
Because you see some school districts throughout in the area, like Milwaukee County, Wauwatosa, West Dallas, where they're actually closing, Waukesha, where they're actually closing schools due to low enrollment.
Sure.
Has that ever, have you ever run across that in Guanago?
We can so we don't have that concern, that question here. Our class sizes will go up and down a few students, but across 8 school buildings, you're not getting to the place where you're reducing a ton of sections. You're not going from 3 sections to 2, 2, 2. You might go 3, 2, 3 again. It really sits as to where the students are, but it's not to the point where you could say Clarendon as a location could ever be off the map. It would be too much disbursement of students. So we have full buildings, and that is not the case. In like you mentioned, Waukesha, we did close schools in Waukesha, but we were running elementary schools with 200 or fewer students. And we had schools beyond that were sitting at 40, 50, 60% capacity. So to be responsible there, we shut down some locations and then distributed those students elsewhere. We do not have that case here.
And do you believe the STEM program that you're currently doing, is it good now and could be much better if the facilities were improved?
If we're able to introduce the technology ed, the family and consumer ed, the STEM courses at the middle school, we will see students pursuing that career pathway sooner and then be able to go further with it once they're in high school. One of our goals is having a industry credential for, I think it's 70% of our graduates having an industry credential. If we can get those students engaged in that in middle school, that will help that industry credential piece. We have kids that are graduating from MHS that have been working as CNAs. We've got kids that are in work co-ops. We have students that are starting at the technical colleges earlier and earlier so that they can really hit the ground running when they walk across that stage on graduation day.
I know we have one of your students that took some EMS classes at the high school and is I believe in January, he was doing his football season, and then he's going to join the Vernon Fire Department.
Yeah, we do a great job there. We think we can do even better if we have this middle school set in such a way where kids get better exposure.
Boy, if you could feed us firefighters and EMTs and paramedics, that would be great.
We'd love to do that. We would love to be able to do that for you.
And did you say language arts? Currently, 6th grade does not have language arts?
6th graders do not have world languages. They don't have foreign language.
Okay.
They do have English language arts in
Right.
6th grade,
But
but they
not-
don't have that access to the foreign languages.
Okay.
Which for a college student, if you can introduce that again earlier, those kids can go further in, for instance, Spanish when they get to high school. They can start college, place in the higher levels of Spanish, for instance, at college, and then you take one course and you end up with 16 credits. They'll retroactively give you credits all the way down to the first year of college Spanish if you do well. And then that helps our families, obviously, with tuition.
Oh, it does, because my daughter went to Madison, and thank God she went to Guanago because she was able to test out in her Spanish and German, and that saved us a lot of money.
Yes.
Good.
Other questions from the,
I see one of the first slides that the school district extends into Walworth County also.
Yep,
How far into the county does it go?
not very far.
Okay.
We're right on the northern portion of it.
it was because of the Village of McGuanago's annexation, correct?
I guess that part I couldn't speak to. It's really when you go south on Highway 83 and you cross I-43 and there's, new industrial park there. That's where the Village of McGuanago is in Waukesha and Walworth County, so it's just a really small part of it that goes into Walworth. By and large, it's mostly Waukesha County.
But they'll actually vote on this, the people that are in Walworth County will actually vote on this referendum also?
Only if they live in the portion.
Right.
As long as you're a resident within our school district boundaries, and, I'm gonna make this number up, 97% or 99% of our residents live in the Waukesha County portion. There's just a small number of people who live in Walworth County.
Other questions from the board? Joe or Tom, if any of our residents have any questions, should they contact you at the high school or middle school or the school district office? What's the best way? I mean, I hope they didn't miss the open houses, and I hope they watch this, but if they do have additional questions before the referendum, what would your suggestion be to them?
Please reach out to me or Tom. We have all of our contact information is on our webpage. Our district office is 262-363-6300, and Tom and I have an extension. All they have to do is call into the office, and one of our assistants will direct that person to one of us, and we can answer any questions that they have. We're 2.5 weeks out now from the vote. If there's anybody who's interested in coming in and having a tour, we're happy to give a tour for those that did miss the open houses that we had.
Well, gentlemen, any other questions?
Yep, seems well,
Very nice
well thought out.
presentation.
Very nice presentation.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Joel.
Have a good
Good
night.
luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Let's see, gentlemen, our next agenda item is a resolution 2024-11, a resolution to terminate the Village of Vernon TIF District Number 1. Board members, I asked if we could table this to the next board agenda. I do have confirmation from the DOR who regulates the TIFs. The concern from our municipal attorney is making sure that the termination of the TIF district doesn't have any bearing on our village status, and I'm just waiting for a written response. I've gotten oral confirmation, but I want something in writing from the DOA along with the DNR. So until I get that written confirmation, I would ask that this be tabled. I'd make a motion to table this to the next board meeting. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Pecca. Discussion from the board. I'm just trying to be safe and conservative. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Board members, the next resolution 2024-12. This is a resolution to adopt a 2020-24 fee schedule. Board members, at the last meeting, we talked about the county increasing their the dog license $2, and then there was some discussion at the board level to see if we should increase ours $1, or, so what I did is I drafted the resolution. I also drafted the fee schedule with a highlighted area, and I did ask the attorney for recommendations on the language, just to make sure that people know that this would go into effect when Brad gets the new dog license, because no matter what the county fees, we'd have to absorb the county fee. But the question now is, do you want that absorbed into, you talked about another $1 in, in our fee schedule, so I just wanted to first put it out to the board for discussion in regards to the fee schedule, what your wishes would be. Does anybody want to jump in there?
I'm going back through it again real quick.
Yeah, so the area that I highlighted.
Yeah, the highlight.
Yeah. The rest of it would remain the same, just so the public knows we're in the process. I know I've got a recommendation from the building inspector, we got legal, we got planning. We're waiting for the fire department. So there will be a change for the 2020-25, but this would only be for the dog license, because those licenses will come in. Brad, when do you think you'd be getting those?
They usually come in right around the 1st of December.
And there is one gentleman that he likes to be the first to get. He wants always the first dog license. I don't know why, but I was here for I don't know how many years, and he wanted to make sure he was first one. So when I drafted it, I did ask the attorney for. I had drafted language indicating that it would go into effect for the 2020-25 license, but it changes in the 2024 fee schedule, because we'd be collecting those fees for 2020-25. So, but the question is how would you like that done? How would you like that to be structured? Because currently on mail dog, everything would be raised $2. The other thing I wanted to ask the board, there's a $25 late fee, which I think is, what they do now is if you have a the dollar amount for a license, you pay the license, plus you pay $25 for a late fee. I think that's really, you know, I talked to other clerks and they do have a fee, but it's usually like $10. And they thought, well, maybe that 25 was for the license and the late fee, but we currently charge a $25 late fee. So you have a $10 dog license and a 25, I don't know, I think that's really high.
Yeah,
I think it discourages people from actually getting the license.
Oh, I think so
Right.
too, I
And then
mean,
pay the extra $25.
I mean,
And then they just wait until the following year.
well, I think $10, but I think 25 is way out.
Agreed.
Well, that one, then we can change that one, that right away.
I think it would be better if we reduce the late fee and then do an extra dollar above whatever the county charges us for the license.
So do you just, gentlemen, you just want to add the $3, to like the neutered male is 10, the spaded female is 10, and the unneutered is 15 for the, and 15 for the female. The kennel license, and hobby kennel license would remain the same, but they would actually, you know, pay that additional fee also.
County's raising $3, right?
2.
Oh, 2, okay.
But you talked about adding $1 also, so I didn't know if you wanted to
I was
do.
thinking it was 3, and we should add 2, and make it even 5, and you have the numbers here, but since it's only 2, yeah, $1.
Do you want to raise it 3 across the board then, just to make it simple? Okay. Okay.
Hobby kennel kind of low for more than $4.
Well, that's just, they actually, when they do a hobby kennel license, they have to apply, they pay a fee and come to the plan commission for a true hobby kennel license. This is just the actual fee for it, but if they apply for a hobby kennel license, they have to come to the plan commission, they pay a fee for that. I mean, that was like $100 and some, now
That
it's
was a
60
lot more
bucks.
expensive, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 60 now, we reduced that too, because that was a little bit high. So if you're getting a hobby kennel or a commercial kennel, I believe a commercial kennel is a conditional use.
Most of them are.
Yeah, so I mean, they have to pay the conditional, so that's much higher. And we haven't had a commercial dog kennel for last 10, I haven't seen one in years here.
A new one, you're saying?
Yeah, we've had a transfer and we have a transfer of a couple, ones that's so old that they don't even have to come in as long as they comply with the conditions of the conditional use. So that's the question there. Jeff, did you have a comment?
No, I'm fine with $3 increase.
Looking for a motion?
Yes.
I'll make it.
So is your motion to increase each one of the indications on the license $3 with the late fee being now $10 and adopt a resolution 2024-12?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, so that motion was made by trustee Newman and seconded by trustee Finch. Discussion, gentlemen. Then you have a resolution that they could sign right away?
I can print it.
Any discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Brad, I'll send this one over to you.
As we talked at last month's, or last village board meeting, one of our office staff will be out taking care of their spouse due to surgery. With that office staff member being out and the only 2 staff members remaining in the office and their hours being limited by WRS and the scope of the November election, I believe we need additional help in the office for in-person absentee voting, which starts next Tuesday and runs through the 1st. So I'm asking for additional staff to be brought in. These would be our chief election inspectors that come in. 1 of our chiefs and 2 of our assistant chiefs have said they would help, and we've talked with them and got a schedule set. Here we're just looking to pay them $15 an hour for it.
Discussion from the board?
How many hours is that a week?
It kind of depends on what's going to happen.
Yeah, so
Usually it's presidential, it's crazy. It's busy.
we're looking to have,
This might be a dumb question. Are we allowed to hire the election inspectors?
No, these would be these are
they'd be
not-
deputized.
They have to be deputy clerks, so they do an oath, but they they coincidentally are also chief inspectors or.
So they can be both.
Oh, absolutely, but for this role, they take an oath when they're election inspectors, but they take a different oath if they would function as a deputy clerk. So I'd make a motion to authorize the village clerk to hire and deputize staff to assist in the clerk's office for absentee voting at the approved wage of $15 an hour. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second that.
Second by trustee Pecca. Discussion from the board.
Pay seems a little low, but
Well,
what
they,
are you gonna do about it?
Well, when you get the
somebody
budget-
that paid.
Yeah.
just so you know, when they get the budget, our chief inspectors, I think they make $11 an hour, and our election make, and they, at $9, that needs to be raised. That's been that way for, that's pretty, you might as well volunteer for $9. But this here, for 15, I'm sure, Brad, you've talked to them, and they think this, and I can tell you, in previous presidentials, when we had been working absentee, everybody got $15 an hour when they came in, because, you know, there's so much work, and, you know, they have limited staff, so even if Brad had all three, he doesn't have enough. That's how busy it's going to be. Yep. Further discussion from the board. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There is nothing new on the Center Bridge project, and I know I did put in closed session that caveat of possibly talking about the offers to purchase, but we keep that Center Bridge project on there because that's a federal grant for $2 million, and we don't want to miss anything, which there's nothing to approve now, and the negotiations are still in the process for the offers to purchase. So it's on there as a caveat, but we will not have to go into closed session to talk about those. Before I do my announcements, I would pass it to Trustee Pecca. Do you have any announcements or reports or?
Well, I would just like to have everybody be safe working in their yard, especially trimming branches. I found out for myself, trimming high branches is not an easy task to do. So please be safe, everybody.
Thank you, Trustee Pecca. Trustee Finch, do you have any announcements or?
Yeah, Halloween is Sunday the 27th here in Vernon from 1 to 3. So have a good time and be safe with your children.
Thank you, Trustee Finch. Trustee Newman.
In case you don't hear from me before the election, vote. We're a red county, it's important.
Thank you, Trustee Newman. Trustee Millies.
Nothing else to add.
Oh, is there one thing I didn't add?
Yes.
Well, if people haven't done it before, we're going into the burning season, so if you haven't done it already, please make sure you have your chimneys clean on any wood burning items in your house. I still have to go out and do mine. I'm running late.
Is that it?
Yep.
Thank you. I first wanted to send my thoughts and prayers to all the people that were affected by the horrible weather down south, the people from Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina. My thoughts and prayers go out to all them, and I wanted to extend many thanks to the many municipalities that brought resources to those. I wish we had that kind of money for resource, but commend all the states that did send stuff to those states in desperate need. On October 1st, we had a stormwater education meeting at the school, and I was really pleased. We probably had close to 50-some people there that came to the meeting. Jane Jenks from Waukesha County, and she's an environmental specialist. She did a wonderful PowerPoint presentation and handed out some really good information on the types of stormwater ponds. I wanted to thank Andy Schultz and Stacy Tukas, our village engineers who came. John Macy, our village attorney, was there. Vince Budiak, our building inspector, was there. Brett Bartels, our DPW director, was there. Brad Collier, our clerk administrator, was there. I want to thank them all for coming. And I just wanted the public to know that I did put the PowerPoint and all those research information on the Village of Vernon's website. And just so the public knows, you go to the government tab, you click on that, and scroll all the way down to stormwater at the very, very bottom, and you'll see all that information that was presented at the meeting. I just wanted to announce to the public that the village board has made a decision at the last board meeting to continue its studies into the possible renovation and remodeling the existing structure. So As we stated, we looked at the complete tear downs and rebuilds. Now the board is continuing its process of educating themselves and the public on what those remodeling and additions would do to the existing structures. And then lastly, the Village Board and Plan Commission had a public hearing on October 9th regarding to unattached accessory dwelling units. As I stated before, the current zoning code does allow for attached dwelling units, and the Village of Vernon Board and Plan Commission has been working on language to address unattached accessory units. At that meeting, there was additional comments that came in from Plan Commission members, people in the public, and the Village board members also. So what our planner has done is taken all those comments, redrafted those. Brad, do you have those up on the website yet?
No, we'll get them up though.
Just to let the public know that Sean has completed those. And so those will be up on the website shortly so the public can see. He put that in a different color. You'll see the red color that he did for the initial changes, and then you'll see a different color for the additional information that was part of the public hearing. So the public hearing was adjourned to November 13th at 6 o'clock. And if you can't attend the meeting and you have comments, I would encourage you to send those comments to the clerk and or drop your comments off or mail them in. And that's all I have. Brad, do you have any comments or?
Yeah, just two things. I'll try to be quick. The first is early in-person absentee voting starts next week, Tuesday, runs all through Friday, and then Monday through Friday the following week, 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. All that they need to bring is their driver's license or another proof of photo ID for it. If they need to register, they can still register in person. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your guys' attention is as you've heard probably recently in the last week or two, County Executive Farrow has proposed implementing a countywide sales tax as another form of revenue here in the county. As this becomes more and more discussed, the county board is looking to take action on it here in the very near future. With this proposal, the proposal includes sharing some of the revenue that's brought in from the sales tax with municipalities, roughly about 20% of what would be brought in on a 0.5% sales tax here. So what that equates to is about $12 million that is going to be sent back to the municipalities to be shared between them. Under the proposal, the Village of Vernon would be looking at something about $200,000 for additional revenue that would potentially be generated to the village, which I think for the village is something that would be very beneficial as we look to find ways to bring in additional revenue to help cover the costs of additional expenses and the increase in the cost of living over time. So an additional $200,000 in revenue I think will go a long way. So I would just urge you guys to become educated on it and look into it further as we move forward. Like I said, I think it could be very beneficial to the village, and not just the village but also the county, as it allows them to continue to provide the services that they're providing at the current level.
In my next report, at the next meeting, I went to the meeting with other mayors and village presidents, and a couple town chairs were there. We had a 2-hour meeting with County Exec Paul Farrow, and they gave a lot of interesting information, and I'll get you all that statistical information, but very, very eye-opening. And I should probably warn you, Mayor Riley from the city of Waukesha did draft some comments in regards to whoever agreed with his opinion, and I agreed wholeheartedly, in regards to, you already know from a budget standpoint what we're facing, and the only way we can increase the levies is by going to the elector, which I have no problem going to, but we're in the process right now of our budget, and it's dire to see what the needs are of just the fire department, DPW. And our residents want all those services, and we just don't have the money. So I'll get you all that information, but I just wanted, it was a great meeting, 2 hours up at the county offices yesterday. With that, I know that, Brad, you have the Waukesha County Sheriff's report and the Vernon Fire Department report in the packet. We'll move on to accounts payable for October 17th, 2024. Brad, I did say that there was a duplicate check for 1,000, was paid at the last board meeting for $1,073. That was a duplicate check. And, did you say you're gonna make the change to that R&R insurance to RRR?
Yes.
And then, is anybody gonna call on that $52, I'm sorry guys, that really bothers me. When you saw how much money we spent on Humphrey and they charged us $50, although, do you know why we didn't, those bills came in August? Did somebody not process? That's a long time.
I'm not sure, because we've been paying on their invoices. I'm not sure what happened with that one in terms of there, because we've had Humphrey bills on a lot of them.
I know, and we spent thousands of dollars, so I did ask Sue if she could, I mean, I have no problem calling either. Brett said he talked to Sue to have her call, but as much money as we spend there, and my other question was, where did those bills go if we got them in August? That should have been processed, not in October. That's pretty, unless there was a glitch, I don't, do they email the bills or?
Email, they mostly email them.
And do they email them to Brett?
I think to me and Brett, and I usually just print them off right away and then give them to Sue, or well, put them in our AP basket for payment.
Yeah. Anybody have any other?
Yeah,
There was,
check amount was off by 3 cents.
Oh my God, did you see our bills from Macy? It's over $5,000 a month. And I am, because he doesn't charge for this, I am gonna ask him about, because he's got me listed, the only time I talk to Macy is when we're doing our agenda reviews. You know, I think they, yep.
Did you say you have like a staff meeting, in here and everything?
No, it's not over the phone. We go through the agendas, plan commission and village board agendas.
I thought you said like a bill for 700 or whatever.
Well, those are, the comments that you saw in your packet, Brad puts that in your, that's what he does, is he listens to, what we're gonna have on the agenda, and he gives you any legal comments, or policy comments that he wants to comment on. But I would make a motion, I would not pay the bill for $1,073, but make a motion to pay accounts payable in the amount of $63,365.10. Is there a second to my motion?
say that one more time.
$63,365.10.
Does that include the 3 cents? 3
Oh,
cents. So
and which bill was off?
supply zone was 3 cents. It was 122.96 on there. And trustees Millie's caught it for, it should have been 122.99, so it should be 63,365.13.
I'd make that motion. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
it. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Manual checks, did you pay the postage on the?
Oh, yes.
So you gotta put that in manual checks.
I'll put,
I'm gonna make a motion, to approve, the manual check for the United States Postal Service for the newsletter. I know Jeff and I both signed that check in the amount of,
let me look, it was $9.99.60 something.
we need the amount.
Yes,
I just wanted to approve that. I know you don't have any problem with paying the, did it get mailed?
yes. $999.79. $999.79.
That would be my motion to approve the manual check for $999.79 to United States Postal Service. Is there a second? Second by trustee Finch. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. September financial report.
It was not in there.
Yeah. The aging report. Did we get an updated list of?
No, not yet.
Oh, I thought you said you're gonna have it
Yeah.
at this meeting.
We've been busy. I can get it out to you guys tomorrow.
And I hope you guys don't mind, if somebody owes 34 cents, I'm gonna give the village, we mail a bill out for 34 cents.
It's more than 34 cents.
I don't know this person, my God.
I got 34 cents.
My God, thank God we don't have to deal with this anymore, because we don't have personal property unless we do. So Brad, you're gonna get that aging
Yep.
report? Transactions for December and September, that wasn't in the packet.
No, we'll get it. We've just been busy with budget and reconciliations.
Brad, you want to give a report on the audit reconciliations for 2020-24?
We're still working on February. We're really close. Should have that wrapped up tomorrow morning. And then the 23 audit, we haven't had any feedback from Karen Wolf, our auditor, since we submitted some additional materials roughly 2 weeks ago.
Okay, thank you. And Brad, there were no minutes in the packet,
No.
correct? Okay, then I would just make an announcement that we have our next board meetings are November 7th and 21st at 6 p.m. at the Village of Vernon. And November 13th, we have a combined Village Board and Plan Commission meeting. And as Trustee Finch indicated, trick or treat is October 27th from 1 to 3 in the Village of Vernon. With that, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session as read by the village president and stated on the agenda. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Trustee Millie. Is there any discussion before the clerk reads the roll? Any discussion on the motion? As I stated, we will not be discussing the Center Bridge project, just so the public knows if they care. Brad, would you like to read the roll call?
President Shu?
Yes.
Trustee Pecca?
Yes.
Trustee Finch?
Yes.
Trustee Newman?
Yes.
Trustee Millies?
Yes.
Well, Deputy, we're going into closed session.
Sorry, I was in and out a lot.
You didn't have a lot?
Oh, sorry, I was in and out of the meeting a lot.
Oh, well, thank